going through this journey of health and wellness and spirituality and how to bridge the gap between the physical and the energetic. And because there was no rules to go by when I was learning all this stuff. There was no book that I could go by to say, hey, how does this look? How does this feel to other people? What's going on? It was a little bit confusing at times. And so the way I had to start compartmentalizing everything, like this is where, fitness goes. This is where emotional wellness goes. This is where nutrition goes. And so then after a while, I was like, wait, it's all together. It's all connected,
Connected.
There's no separation between any of it. It's just what you're working on mostly at that moment, as it relates to yourself and your relationship with it. So, I figured instead of writing another book about fitness and nutrition, which we have so many great resources for that and so many different ways of looking at it, I felt like I wanted to more share like the behind the scenes look at the wellness journey, which is what I went through.
Welcome to Ignite the Spark Within, a podcast designed to do just that. Ignite your spark within you. I'm your host, Sarah Malone, owner of Spark Fitness and Lifestyle Coaching and voted Yahoo Finance's top 10 female coaches to follow in 2021. I believe everyone has a fire inside them, a powerful purpose, a story waiting to be told, and everyone can uncover and unleash this power. Every day you have the choice to either let your experiences shape you or take control and use your experiences to shape the world around you. You were made to experience happiness, freedom, joy, purpose, love, passion, and abundance. Disrupt the status quo. Think for yourself and join forces with those around you doing the same. Join me for thought-provoking conversations along with the strategies needed in order to help you ignite your spark within.
Got another one. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Allison, so thank you so much for coming on my show. Because of the fact that we were connected by my dear friend Rue, I automatically trust you and feel like we're connected on a deep level. So I'm thrilled to have you, and I'm really excited to share with my audience and talk about your book, Finally Thriving.
Well, thank you for having me, Sarah. This is an honor and a pleasure to be here. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. So Finally Thriving, I was looking into this book, and I feel like at a time like this, it's coming perfectly for people because a lot of people in my circle, at least clients, people that I know, people that I mentor, it's like people are getting to the end of their rope of health and wellness because they're breaking down. And it's no wonder. So your book is centered around basically self-care. And to me, what captivated me is you're kind of redefining or at least helping us to define self-care. So in your terms and in your experience, how would you define self-care?
Yeah, so much of what I talk about in my book is a lot of my own personal experience going through this journey of health and wellness and spirituality and how to bridge the gap between the physical and the energetic. And because there was no rules to go by when I was learning all this stuff. There was no book that I could go by to say, hey, how does this look? How does this feel to other people? What's going on? It was a little bit confusing at times. And so the way I had to start compartmentalizing everything, like this is where, fitness goes. This is where emotional wellness goes. This is where nutrition goes. And so then after a while, I was like, wait, it's all together. It's all connected,
Connected.
There's no separation between any of it. It's just what you're working on mostly at that moment, as it relates to yourself and your relationship with it. So, I figured instead of writing another book about fitness and nutrition, which we have so many great resources for that and so many different ways of looking at it, I felt like I wanted to more share like the behind the scenes look at the wellness journey, which is what I went through. And I really was talking to people about it here and there. scratching the surface, so to speak, in the gym, because, the gym is not always like the best environment to talk about the deeper aspects of health and wellness. Sometimes when people, go through emotional changes or some things come up, and it's, being in a gym environment is not always like the place to be vulnerable. So I decided, I would like to help more people through this aspect of it, because it's important. And many times when people are going through a fitness and nutrition change, all these other things are happening too.
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of times people don't know how to really connect with these aspects of themselves. So then they, drop off and stop working out or stop taking care of themselves. So I thought a deeper aspect of self-care is to look at these, reflect on these deeper aspects of ourselves. That's true self-care. Then we can come to a place of truly thriving, because many times, like, we just scratch the surface with their survival mechanism. We're still real busy. We're still really distracting ourselves, even though we may be doing the right things with our nutrition and fitness and getting it right there. Then there's like a disconnect between the rest of our lives. What do our relationships look like? What is our
work life?
What's that? Yeah.
What's our work-life balance like?
Exactly.
What's our stress levels?
Yeah. And what is your ability to relax? Can you play? Can you enjoy your life? Can you appreciate the smaller things in your life? I was seeing a lot of people just trying to kind of, check things off their list and go from one thing to the next. And I was like, wait a minute, like, this is no way to really live. And I would include myself in that too. And finally, I said, there's just no end point to this. There has to be a way that you can enjoy what you're experiencing right now, celebrate your wins, like we say, and, start to learn how to appreciate what's happening right now and stop trying to continually fix things we feel like is wrong. What if everything about us is already all right? And we look at it from that perspective, and we're just really peeling the layers off of things that we learned along the way, right?
It's a process of removal.
Yeah.
Whereas we've been conditioned to think that we have to acquire more, get more, do more, be more, have more, think more, better mindset, better this, instead of stripping away all that conditioning.
Yeah.
I love how you can paint this picture, because for me, what I hear you saying is overall wellness. And this is exactly what I preach to my clients too, is that, and this is why I've pivoted my entire mission to being so less pigeonholed into fitness. So I think a lot of times people think that the solution to their problems is like one thing. And like you said, they compartmentalize everything. Well, I'm doing the fitness. Why isn't anything changing? Or why am I not losing weight? Or why am I so tired all the time? I'm this fit person. Whereas like we're a whole being. Being, and it's a circular process and container for us to focus on. And I also heard you in the way you describe things to me. I picture this circle, and everything's just like flowing together, and it just depends on which one is more priority right now. There's no such thing as balance.
Yeah, exactly.
It's just like, are we doing more of this? Or are we doing more of that right now? And which one needs my attention to be able to flow through that? So I love your definition of self-care. And I also love that it came from your own experiences, because that makes you an instant expert.
Exactly. That's all I can. I realized at some point, that's all I can really do is give people my own experience, because I can't speak for anybody else. I really, we don't really know anybody until we truly know ourselves, right? And that's really all we can know. Yeah,
exactly. And that's the thing too, is because we're all humans, we all experience the same things virtually, just in different ways. But when you're sharing your experience about what you've been through, 99% of people are going to be like, oh, yep, that's me too.
Exactly.
So you're already.
And you and I were talking before the show started about how, many of us think, oh, nobody wants to hear about our stories. Who wants to hear about that stuff? Like, that's what I used to think all the time. I still kind of think that, like, why would anybody want to hear this? But they want to hear it because they can't, they connect with it within themselves. They have the same stories. We all have the same stories. stories, we can all reflect on that for each other. And so if someone's hearing you tell a story or an experience that you've had, then my hope was that people could resonate with that and find that within themselves to heal that part of themselves and not feel so alone in this process.
Yes.
Because many times I felt that way. I just thought, oh man, am I the only one that's feeling this? And sure
Isn't
enough,
crazy?
I was not. There was many people that were feeling it too. Yeah.
And it's always that one bold person who's going to speak up and say it first. And then you'll have like 100 people behind you be like, yeah, me too. And you're like,
really?
where were you before? Yeah, like seriously. But you're right though. And yeah, like we were talking about before the show, is this weird, almost guilt of feeling egotistical if we talk about ourselves, when in reality, what it allows the listener to do is hear themselves in your story rather than you coming at them saying, you need to do this, you need to do that, which is an instant defensive mechanism. And so, but if you're saying, I do this all the time, or I used to think this way, and they're like, yeah, I did too. I can find myself now they're the ones who are taking ownership of that journey.
Exactly. I love how you said that. That's a perfect description, because yes, we are, yeah, you're right. And that people don't do well. And that's why I didn't want to write a book about like, do this step 1, step 2, and tell everybody what to do, because like half the time people don't do it because they can't connect with it. But when you share your own personal story and you share your own experience, like you said, they have ownership, because then they get to experience it through themselves and then take that information, which they're now connected with, and integrate it. Right. Yeah.
And the second piece to that too is the feeling that is attached to it. Because Lord knows we have so many feelings and emotions that come and go all day, and they're the drive. They can be the drivers of our life. And like you said, the stories, everyone thinks that their story is their own. It's like, you think that story is yours? Like, it's been around since the beginning of time. You're just snatching it.
Yeah. And it's so
and we
freeing.
can choose not to.
Exactly. There's, like you and I have learned through and lifted, there's stories that have been passed down from generation to generation. And many of them we need to break that cycle, otherwise they just keep getting passed down and it's really not serving anybody. So,
okay, let me do this now that we're on that topic. Tell us, playing, we're going to take this literal now. Tell me or tell us one of the stories that was cycling in your head that was keeping you trapped and how you shifted it, if you can recall.
Well, I don't know if this is a story so much, but I'll share a couple of them because some of them come to mind. One that I've been really that's been resonating with me, that I've been reflecting on lately, is lack of choice, the program of lack of choice, right, in our life. And so when I was younger, and I do share some stories around this in my book about just feeling like my decisions, my choices, things I wanted were not really acknowledged. I didn't feel heard or listened to oftentimes. And this is a very common story for many people, especially how they felt more in the past generations, and kids weren't really, acknowledged that way so much. And so when we're experiencing that as a child, we really take that to heart, and then we start to create a survival mechanism to survive through that time of not being acknowledged, not being heard, not being given a choice, or the opportunity to make a choice in their life, however big or small it is. And so then what that translates into as an adult is that you don't know how to make choices or decisions, and you let everybody else do that for you, right? You outsource it, which I was doing for years, and I was like, oh my God. And so that also translates into your ability to create abundance in your life and to call that in and to be open to receiving really what you want in life too. It's a pretty big one. So that was a big program.
And confidence too.
Yes. And self-worth, and that you feel like you matter. And everything really.
Which
And
is huge, because our
yeah,
ability to make decisions and feel confident in them that they're ours is like pretty much the essence of our confidence.
absolutely. Absolutely. And it's a
That's
practice,
brilliant.
once you realize, oh my God, I haven't had any ownership of my own choices. Then we get into, okay, like how do I now begin to do that and take those steps, those action steps in my life to do that. But until you realize that that's the underlying program there for you, which has been passed down from generation to generation, then you really don't know what's running the show, so to speak. So you just keep this underlying thing where things come up in your life where you're frustrated because maybe things aren't happening the way you want them to, or things get like misunderstood with people. All kinds of things can come out of that, but it's really about reading the energy of that. And for me, I really have been using my inner child a bunch to help me reflect on the feelings that are coming up in my adult life. Like, what does this feel like that I've experienced before in my life? And that always brings me to an answer, a very simple answer, actually, to what that underlying energy could be, that I could really switch very quickly, like flipping a switch. And so that's one thing. The other thing, growing up in the Southeast was dimming to fit in. Like the accepted thing was not really to, celebrate your accomplishments, kind of keep them, under wraps so that you wouldn't make anybody else feel bad about how they were doing in life and things like that. And I feel like I picked it up somewhere along the way. I'm not sure exactly where it started, but I remember feeling like, I didn't want to really stand out because that would mean that I was like, a selfish person or something like that. So that was
Oh,
another story that I had that was going on behind the scenes. And
interesting. That one's
yeah,
kind of interesting. Because usually it's like the other way around.
okay, yeah, yeah,
But that one's interesting and very, very real, because if you think that by so that would make you actually not want to be successful.
exactly. It make you want to play small and be
Yeah.
comfortable, and that's where I was.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Allison, how did you overcome that, or how did you shift it? Or are you still?
Yeah, I'm always in a process. I'm really putting myself out there right now, but it's taking the steps um, to be a little uncomfortable with how I present myself and really advocating for myself and learning how to do that. Not feeling bad about it, feeling really actually excited about it, and thinking of what I'm offering as a gift to people instead of something like some kind of burden or something I'm embarrassed about, and it's been quite a process for me to get to this point. I had to, coming from a background of gymnastics, which I did most of my youth I did competitively from about the age of 6 to 22. So I had a lot of perfectionism, people pleasing kind of built into that. And, I did some amazing things in gymnastics, but I never really celebrated them. I just
Yeah.
kept going. There is some I say there it's a good quality to have the ability to keep going and not look back in some ways, but at the same time, if you're not acknowledging what you have done and really celebrating that can also be a problem, because then you're always looking and searching for something outside of yourself.
Yes.
You're not really paying attention to what you have done, which can be really incredible if you look back on it. Half the time when I work
Stop
with my
talking to me already. Stop it. Stop.
half
I'm
the
like,
time when I work with clients, I was like, look what you've done. Like make a list of what you have done. And they're always so surprised. They're like, oh my God, I did that. Like I kept, but otherwise
yeah.
then you've got these blinders on that we got to keep fixing. And, in order to get out of that and just to appreciate what you have done and how you've expressed yourself, and where you've come in your life is that's important to acknowledge
That's
that.
huge, and
Yeah.
that's actually I will be totally vulnerable in this too, in saying that that's my biggest struggle right now. One of my biggest struggles is I have this
like when someone tells me to celebrate or look what you've done and look at this is yours, I'm like constantly pushing it back. Like, no, 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 it was us. It was we, it was, but there's so much more to do. And,
Yeah.
why am I celebrating that? It was like, it's nothing. I have so much more to do. And, gosh, that just keeps you in this cyclical tornado of never enough.
Never enough.
Never
That's
doing
exactly
enough.
right. Yep. That's it. You hit
Never
it. The
doing
nail on the
enough.
head.
I'm not enough for people. And it's just, it wears you out.
Yes.
And I feel like a lot of people are in that place right now. Allison, I can't tell you how many clients and people that I'm connecting with right now that are somehow, some way, even though the world has been shut down and everything's changed, working like triple what they've ever worked in their life. And it's all at the computer and sitting at home.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And it is killing us.
Yes.
And yet at the same time, they're like, oh my, I have to meet these deadlines. I have to do this. And I was like, you do?
Who said that?
Like, what happens if you don't?
Right. Exactly.
And it's like, you can't even literally take 20 minutes to go for a walk to get some fresh air because your company is demanding you to be glued to your computer.
Yeah.
Oh, I say no. I say no to that.
Exactly. Yeah. And that takes a lot of discernment and reflection. And that's what I wanted to bring to the table with my book for people to have the opportunity to create the space to reflect. Because otherwise, if you don't reflect, then you just keep doing the same thing over and over again and getting the same results, which
insanity.
Yeah, it's not in my opinion, it's not a fun way to live, you know?
I don't think anybody finds that fun. No, I mean, truth be told, I think none of us do. It's just, but you're absolutely right. It takes slowing down and being still and putting yourself in a position to actually become aware of what you're actually doing. And that's why I love this book too. And I love that you didn't say like, here's how to have self-care, because it's not so direct. It's so individual.
Yeah.
And I just feel people need to be inspired right now to take their own self-care into their own hands and touch base with themselves, back into their body, listen to it because it knows all of the answers, and then just give it and feed it what it needs.
Absolutely. I could not agree more with that. And I feel like at this time, there's so much confusing. Also, I was seeing around, the external environment, our world is changing. It's not the same as it used to be in any way, shape, or form. So with that, this is a unique time where we have the opportunity to look inside of ourselves and really, truly dig into what we are wanting and own that. And we've been fed a lot of information, especially since the internet came about. And there's so much information. You can't starve yourself of information at this point. So, but what I see is people aren't integrating the information. They're having a hard time with that part, and that part is heavily influenced by how you are being instead of doing there. But that is actually let me go back there. It's a combination of being and doing. So taking an inspired action with the being, and creating space and creating an environment for you to prioritize yourself and to actually spend time with yourself. Because we have so many ways that we can externalize our life, and we can take on other people's opinions very easily, and get swayed in all kinds of different directions. But really, when it comes down to it, it's about your perspective and honoring that. So the only way to really do that is to start to learn how to practice spending time and prioritizing you. Because if you don't show yourself interest, this is the other thing I thought about. If you have a lack of interest for yourself, that's going to put energy into the universe for other people to connect with you. Like, they're not going to show you interest either. They're going to reflect back how you're treating yourself. So
you got it.
If you don't have an interest in yourself, if you don't spend time with yourself, if you're not loving yourself, it's really going to be hard to do that for others. And it's going to be hard for others to do that for you as well. So you're really the practice. It all starts from you. And that's what I realized. And I'm like, we get past that because then we get into the oneness aspect of everything. But if you have, you can't bypass the you in this. You have to connect with yourself first,
Beautiful.
Yeah.
This all comes back to such a simple cliche saying is you can't love others until you love yourself.
Exactly. And it's a very true statement. Yeah.
Because of what you just said too. And this law of magnetization is that whatever you're communicating to yourself and from yourself, and this would be the self, the container at least that contains the self.
Right.
We know the deeper layers to that. But what yourself is communicating to yourself and then to the world is exactly what you will get in return.
Exactly. That's how it works.
And
but
so everyone's
we haven't
like,
been taught that though. Yeah.
Truth.
Yeah.
And then this is, I'm talking to Kristen next week. Very excited because
I love
her
Kristen.
children. Yeah. and her children's book. And I love that mission because the youth is everything. Our school systems aren't teaching us how to do this at all. They're not teaching us about how to honor ourselves and how to process our own emotions and generate things like empathy and compassion and love and service. It's crazy. Tell me, like for you, what was your catalyst to turning inward and redefining and redeveloping self-care?
Yeah.
Was there a specific moment? And actually, I'm curious, did you write this book during quarantine?
I did.
Hey everyone, I hope you're enjoying the show. Hey, I'm going to make this really quick. On October 20th through the 23rd, if you are a woman or even if you are a man who knows a woman, any woman that would benefit from this experience, I'm hosting a retreat with my dear friend Kim Egger in Arizona in the beautiful and spiritual Red Rocks of Sedona. We are very excited to bring this retreat. I've been hard at work at creating the content for this retreat for the past 2 years, ever since the pandemic hit. And what I realize is that these women, all people really, but right now we're focused on the healing of the divine feminine. And this is really just going to provide a space for growth, for healing, for rest and reprieve, as that is desperately what we need right now. And the contents and the guidance of somebody facilitating an actual growth experience instead of leaving you out in the cold. If traditional therapy doesn't appeal to you, which it doesn't appeal to most, then this is a great way to experience the healing and transformational experience that something like that can offer you, but in a place where it's completely away from your normal routine, family, friends, and environment. It is a chance to connect with other women that are like-minded and on the same pursuit as you. And we're just going to spend 3 nights together in the beautiful Red Rocks of Arizona, healing, growing, doing the work, meditating, doing breath work, and exploring nature. So if this calls to you, if this appeals to you, we have limited spots available for this retreat, and we're just so excited to bring it to you. So you can email me at sarah@sparkflc.com or at any of the links in my social media bios. You'll find a link there to book a connection call with me, just to make sure that this retreat truly is for you. I also wanted to make an announcement of our sponsors of the show and just thank them. First sponsor is Spark Fitness and Lifestyle Coaching, my baby. This is a holistic health and wellness company that has expanded over the years to include things like Reiki and energy healing, guided and channeled meditations. We do activations of spiritual gifts. We also offer live in-person events for women only and for men and women, like the yoga and sound bowl healing sessions and the full moon women's gathering. There is so much to offer in this one space: fitness, nutrition, holistic healing, you name it, and it's going to be covered under Mind, Body, and Spirit with Spark. And I'm very honored to partner with other partners and investors now to be able to sponsor this show. Our next sponsor, Juice Plus. I've said it and I've said it ad nauseum now that I am not a huge supplement fan, but Juice Plus captured my attention with its ability to bring an immunity aspect to me and help me to function at a higher level, which I was shocked to find out that we are recommended to consume 9 to 16 servings of fruits and vegetables a day. And I don't know about you, but that's a lot of food to consume. And with our busy lifestyles, which I'm not condoning, by the way, it can be hard to consume that much food. So what's cool about Juice Plus is that all of this is holistic. It is legitimately powdered fruits and vegetables in a capsule, so you don't have to drink a nasty fruits and greens powder. They also come in gummies if you're not a pill swallower. I don't mind it, so I do the reds, the greens, and the purples, and their fish oil, their omega blend. And I have to say, aside from just taking care of my health, which sometimes can be unseen and unfelt, I legitimately feel a difference in my ability to recover, in my health and vitality and energy. And it's almost like a space is created in your system and you just feel like things are more oxygenated, which, come to learn, that's its sole purpose, to oxygenate your system. So as an athlete and as a workhorse, even if you don't work out strenuously, even if you just live a lifestyle in which you're working a lot, you're creating what's called oxidative stress in your system. And oxidative stress can be very detrimental. It's what reduces your immunity. It's what causes inflammation. It's what harms recovery and muscle building, among other things. So Juice Plus has been a huge crutch and an important aspect in my own journey, not just athletic endeavors, but health as well. So if you need any more information on those, please hit the links in the show notes. They'll take you directly to Spark, the retreat page, and then Juice Plus. And hey, if this podcast is adding value to your life in any way, I just want to ask, there is a donate button. You can donate whatever, however little or as much as you want. It does not have to be recurring, but just as a thank you for, continuing to provide valuable content on this page, it really helps to keep this podcast going and just supports good quality information. You can find that link in the show notes as well. It's what began this show in the first place, and everything is welcome. At the end of the day, my mission is just to continue bringing you high quality, good conversations, a place to come to learn and hear vulnerability, and then so that you become a stronger and more capable human being as well. So anything is much appreciated to help continue this show. And before you get bored and start skipping, let's get back to the show.
It's been a journey of many catalysts for sure, but the main catalyst, I'll just say, for the book itself was in the concept of self-care, was that I really wasn't doing that for myself. I thought I was, I was scratching the surface with, the food, the nutrition, the fitness, all the basics, all the foundational health principles. But I wasn't truly feeling happy or satisfied with my life, of how I was showing up in the world. I wasn't feeling like I was really acknowledging my own desires, because I had been, again, it goes all the way back to the lack of choice program that I had in me that was, driving me to just go in whatever direction someone wanted me to, so there was that. And then what happened in 2020 of February of 2020, I went to go help my dad with his hip replacement surgery. He was 85, and he ended up coming out of the surgery fine. But then a day after, he had a heart attack, and he was in the hospital on a respirator for 3 days. And this was literally like 2 weeks before the pandemic hit. And my sister and I were there with him at the hospital, and he was not he was not awake. He was unconscious. And so, by the third day, the neurologist came in and she's like, well, he's 100% brain dead. And, there's nothing else we can do. So it's time to, let him go. And so, of course, that was my decision. I was the one that had I was legally obligated to do that.
Authority.
So yeah, the authority. Thank you. And so we did that, and it was, I don't know. I just had a very interesting experience with it. I was able to get really still, and life just kind of slowed down. So whenever, someone passes away, especially a parent, it just slows everything down,
Yes.
and you're able to reflect on a much deeper level. And so I saw my dad's soul leaving his body. Even though he was not conscious, it was like I could tell and I could feel him. And I was starting to pick up psychically on all these things that were going on. And he was talking to me through that too. And it just got me to think, oh my God, why am I not acknowledging? Why am I trying to hide all these parts of myself that are part of me? And I was already starting to get into my more creative parts because I had put those on the back burner to be a high level athlete. And I really secretly desired to be an artist and to get more into that. And I just hadn't done it. I just kept being busy with clients every day, running from gym to gym. I wasn't really prioritizing it. I was like, I'll get to it later. I'll get to those creative projects later when I'm not so busy, but I kept being busy, So finally that happening with my dad got me out of my hypnotic stupor in a way. And I realized I'm not doing what I want to do in my life right now. I mean, my life is great. I have wonderful clients. I've got a great income, but I don't think I think I want to do some other things. I don't want to just keep putting these on the back burner. So sure enough, 2 weeks after that, all the gyms closed and we're quarantined, and I'm sitting at home like, oh my God. At first, it's a kind of a freak out mode. Like, I'm getting all my clients, online. Let's get this, my doing aspect. I was like, let's do this. I got to make the money. Right. And so
I'm laughing just because it's like, we just talked about how using your story, it helps other people connect. And I'm just like, yep. Okay. Me.
Yeah, we do. We all have so much in common, right?
Yes.
And so yeah, I did that. It was great. I got everybody, on board. But then I had extra time because I wasn't driving everywhere. Yeah. And then some of the clients dropped off, and everybody was in a certain place, and it was a perfect amount of clients for me to sustain my income, and then also continue this creative endeavor I wanted to take on. So I'd been reading this book called The Artist's Way at that time. And she talked, have you read that? Yeah, it's a great one, isn't it?
Yeah.
And she talked about morning pages. And I was like, well, why don't I start doing that? Before, when I thought about writing a book, I thought, well, gosh, I'm going to have to edit this as I go. What am I going to write about? All these, questions came to mind, and that stopped me, blocked me from doing it. And then during this process, it was just an opening of letting it go. Also being with my dad when he passed, something came over me, like, you got to write this book. And Absolutely. I just started getting all this information. It almost felt like I was channeling it for six straight months. It was
downloaded to you.
Yeah. Every morning I'd spend a couple hours writing. And then I ended up hiring a friend of mine she is a writing coach, and she formats and edits. So she helped me also go through the process, because I did not know the process of writing a book. I had no idea. Mm-hmm. So I, got people to support me along the way that could help me, and hired them to help me, learn this process and take me through it and guide me through it. And that was beautiful, because then that was me allowing support to come into my life. I was like, yes, please help me. Please. I'm glad. I'm so ready to receive this. And that was a practice in itself. So I learned so many things from that time, as terrible, as the pandemic was, and as crazy as it was, it really was a catalyst for me, that and my father's death, to change my life and do something finally that I wanted to do. And then I could say, yeah, I'm now finally thriving because I'm expressing myself the way I really desire to express myself.
Yes.
And it continues to grow. But it's like I had to open myself up to putting myself out there first and being okay with that and just having fun with it and just allowing myself to play was a big one too. So I was so afraid to make mistakes before, and I just decided to make mistakes gracefully and make it like a part of my play. Because if you think about it, that's what play is. We're just playing around with stuff. It's not, we're not trying to be perfect or anything. So
It's
that's how you
such
learn.
this weird dichotomy. And I'm finding this is so relevant for today, at least for me. And I'm hoping this finds listeners at exactly the point that they need to hear it at too. This dichotomy of life, of play, and, the world's definition of quote unquote success. And it's so strange how we've been conditioned for success to feel and look a certain way. And because of that, there's so much fear and restrictions attached to it, when the real goal of life is very playful. It's very experimentation. It's very much adventurous and following your muse, following your heart, following your soul's calling and desire. And in the middle of that and the uncertainty of playing, we are called to somehow find a peace or to sit still in that and go against that human reactionary phase that we would when we're encountering fear. And it's so funny. It's just like the universe operates in such a humorous way to get us to do how it wants us to live in a very joyful space.
Absolutely.
And it's like, and at the same time, for me, when I hear your story, and this is the same with pretty much everybody, if we really sat down and they were real with us, the catalyst to change is always something hard.
Yeah, it is hard at first because it's really uncomfortable. And I was in this mindset of like, well, if it doesn't have anything to do with my business, it's not a priority. But everything I do now, I'm like, it all has to do with my business, everything, it's
Your
just so
business
silly.
of living.
I know, right? I'm like, what am I doing right now? This is so silly, And so,
what I mean by that too is that,
Yeah.
it came at a time when you just lost your father.
yeah.
And that was your wake up call. And and there's a lot of death going around right now. I mean, so many of my clients, praise God and knock on wood too. I haven't had so much close death to me, but I've had so many of my clients and friends and acquaintances that are experiencing death. And you see it shift in people when the reality of our quote unquote limited time here in this experience that we're experiencing right now, there is an end date to it.
Yes.
At least in this time of consciousness that we're conscious right now.
Yeah, it's
surreal.
about making the best
and it
out
makes
of it.
it makes you take inventory. It's like, well, I am not guaranteed tomorrow. Am I living today to what I really want to be doing? And having this conversation with you is only confirming a decision that I need to make. So I'm almost like, am I going to air this one? Because this was more of a therapy session for me. No.
Well, it came for me. Firstly, it came down to, what am I not doing that I want to do? It's just simply that. It's like, why am I not doing it? And if I don't like it, I just stop doing it, and no big deal. I just try things out.
Oh my God, it sounds so simple, Allison.
I know, right? But yet I think when we become adults, we just put these barriers of seriousness on ourselves for whatever reason. Like we can't be thinking like children anymore, or having that childlike curiosity in life. We're adults now. What's that all about, right? I mean, so that occurred to me, and I was like, that's kind of silly. Where did I learn that?
That was beautiful.
Yeah.
It's so true. I'm like, me, Bruce Lana, Rue. And I feel the same way. It's like, what, why? Why do I have to be so, I'm, this childlike play. At what point do we decide that we just shouldn't be like that anymore.
Yeah.
The seriousness that we take to life just ruins life.
And who wants to be taken seriously anyway? You know, I mean, I think I thought about it. I was like, do I want to be taken seriously? Actually, I have a lot of humor that I'd like to share, and I would like to be taken sincerely instead of seriously, more so.
Ooh, I like this.
Right?
I like that wordplay. Yeah.
Yeah. So I really had to question that because I was like, is that something I learned from somewhere else? Like, but I think it came down to me also having a lot of stuff that was a lot of stories about how I didn't feel very smart and I needed to make myself look smart to everybody, or like I knew what I was talking about and all of these things. And like I realized nobody knows what they're talking about. They're all just making it up as they go. When I realized that, I was like, oh, okay. So I don't have to do this anymore. Okay.
It's so true. I was just making a post the other day about how like there really are very few, if any, absolute truths.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, all things are just variations and interpretations of truths that we're attaching to it. And it's like, there is no such thing as like your truth and my truth and the truth. And it's like, what is truth? We're all just kind of figuring it out together.
Yeah. There's so much potential.
Playland.
There's so much potential within that, you know? Like I think we limit ourselves by thinking, oh, can only go this far and life can only look like this and, you know, whatever it is.
We limit ourselves too to saying like, you're right or that's wrong.
Yeah.
I'm right. What I believe is right. Because when we have these different viewpoints that we're supposed to collaborate.
Yes.
And
yes.
if we actually took that collaboration seriously, we would say like, your truth is, oh, interesting. Like we could probably do this with all of that. And we could start creating things together.
That's the true collective mind right there. I think we've lost that because like we're trying to defend and prove all the time. And then you're not listening to anybody else's perspective. And it's, to me, it's more about getting curious about why that person has that perspective. And, you know, we aren't going in that direction. We're like just cutting them off at the pass. And really you could get more out of it, I believe. Even if you don't agree with them, you could just get curious about why they think that way. And then maybe you'll learn something different from that. That's
at the very
my
least,
invitation.
you learn about them.
Yeah. Exactly. And then you understand them, maybe have more compassion for where they're coming from.
Exactly.
You know, that's, I think, where
Dr.
we're going
Wayne Dyer says this perfectly too in his books when he's saying, you know, if somebody has different opinion than you know, thank them and say, I understand.
Exactly.
Thank you for sharing your opinion with me.
Right.
Everyone's our teachers. No, I love it. What are some, because I know everybody who's hearing you speak right now is finding themselves at some point, because again, I'm finding myself at different points too, and we're all going to do that. What are some tools that you've provided, or maybe that you just found along the way you didn't include in the book, that have helped you to transform yourself, and then also using those with clients? Do you still coach now?
Yes, I'm still coaching. Pretty regularly. I've got a pretty full schedule, but I've actually, this is one thing I do have in the book about your finding your personal rhythm with your schedule is, you know, I've blocked off 2 days for myself, and then I don't work on weekends. So I really just coach 3 days a week. And so, you know, otherwise I didn't have any boundaries with that. And I just fill my week and my weekends up with people. And now I found that I'm making more money than I've ever made before. And I'm seeing the best clients. I have the best clients, and I love working with them, and it more than I ever have, because I've set those boundaries in place. So, you know, but as far as your question goes, I would say I did mention some about vocal toning, but since I've written the book, I've used more vocal toning in my life and voice work to, even changed my body, but it's also changed, you know, my connection to source, and just the whole channel is just much more clear now. Even the way I express myself just feels so much more clear. I don't feel like I am editing myself or inhibiting myself as I speak. Whereas before it sounded like I was hitting speed bumps all the time when I'd talk,
Mm-hmm.
like, but now it just comes right out and it's so freeing. So I've used that tool where I do the vocal toning and I use it for each energy center, each chakra to clear that area. And it just, if anything, it just feels really good. And then I
Mm-hmm.
also have, if you know Fiona from Enlifted, she's my voice teacher. And she's been teaching me how to get to new heights literally with my voice. And she's an opera singer. And it's just been incredibly fun. I'm loving it right now. I've also recorded an audiobook, and that should be done by May, the end of May, and getting out hopefully by June. So I've just been exploring my voice, and I keep going in this direction with it, and it's taken me on this interesting journey, using my voice as my instrument of alignment, but also expression has just been so much fun. So again, it's like one of those things I would have never done because it didn't relate directly to my job, but it kind of does in a way, because you think about coaching, you think about speaking, you want to be clear in that channel in order to
Absolutely.
really resonate with people. So that's one thing that I've been loving so much of. And I believe the next book I write will be about voice.
Mm.
Yeah.
I was going to go there with you and say there might be something there with that,
Yeah.
because I mean, it doesn't matter who you are. Your voice matters. The way that you communicate will create or break your life. So I think it's huge. And what I'm seeing a lot in the people around me is their voices have been shut down. So
Exactly.
I practice energy work with people, and I clear blocks and Reiki and sound bowl healing. And it's like, I find the blocks or the issues are virtually the same across the board in most
Yeah.
ways. It's like, what aren't you saying? Are you not speaking your truth? And then that affects the whole chain. That's going
Right.
to affect your heart chakra. If your heart's blocked, now you're not following, and now everything is up here is shut down. Everything down here is blocked, and you're wondering why you're not losing weight. And it's like,
Yeah. You're not saying
all
what needs to
because
be
you
said.
wouldn't speak your truth.
Exactly. And just by speaking what speaking your truth or saying what hasn't been said or what you want to say is a profound experience. And people don't, I don't think, understand how profound it really is.
Mhm.
But your voice in itself is a sound healing mechanism. I mean,
Yes, it
there's a
is.
vibration that comes through your voice that comes all the way from your second chakra and comes up to the throat to express that. And it's a higher level of creativity for sure. To be able to do that. I think that's why I'm always enamored with singers and how they can just
Yeah.
easily get that sound out so beautifully.
Oh,
It's not as easy as people think. And
no.
I'm always, well, it wasn't for me. I had to go through a lot of restructuring of my body after being an athlete and being a trainer. There was a lot of tight spots. So I had to reconnect with my core in a different way and just really kind of let everything spill out instead of holding it in all the time. That was a
Yeah.
big one for me. I was like, oh
Yeah.
my gosh, like I've really been holding this in. And it's been a process of kind of getting back to my natural body again. So after I had 2 kids, I had this rectus abdominis separation. So my, kind of had everything spilling out. So I was realizing I was forcing that pull in for many years. And then when I was able to really release around the diaphragm, and the voice again is an expression of your breath. And so I love looking at breathing that way too. And as I went through this process, I was able to also kind of, heal old injuries in the back and these kind of things, and
Mhm.
get the spine moving well again. And now I'm right at this place where now I can hold my abdomen in without straining to hold it in. So all these accessory muscles are not overdoing that, their work, which has been really, really interesting. Like I feel like many people aren't probably experiencing that because they just don't, have the time and the space to go through that with their body. But I felt very, just so much gratitude for being able to go through that process with my own body and just seeing it through a different perspective. And I would have never noticed those things about myself if I hadn't started getting into voice, you know?
Wow, that is amazing.
Isn't it? I know. I think about that too. I'm like, wow, it just kind of brought me more into a place of relaxation. Whereas before, I feel like I was trying to hold everything together, if that makes sense. And
Yeah, I mean, I have to
I
say, I'll be
mean,
honest, I wasn't expecting that as one of the tools or one of the, although at the same time, I'm not surprised at all because sound are the healing capacity of sound. But then especially when that's coming from your own body, so you're feeling the vibration too, your whole body's feeling the vibration. I guess it doesn't surprise me at all, but
well, yeah,
that's
the
beautiful.
vibration organizes matter, so it synchronizes it and creates symmetry. So that I didn't
Yeah.
really know that until I mean I did know that, but I didn't put it into. I didn't feel like I really knew it until I experienced it. So
Hmm.
I was like, wow, okay, even everything in my body is like realigning itself. And it's
Yeah.
just really
Yeah.
interesting. Less is more with that. But I do give some sounds that people can practice with in my book. And I have a free vocal toning recording that I have on my website too at finallythrivingbook.com that they can check out
Yeah.
and try. I think it's just really liberating too to be able to, from my experience going through childbirth, um,
Yeah.
not being able to yell and those moments that I wanted to. I've been in some breathwork sessions where I've been able to do that and have that second time, that second chance to do that. And I did it and it freed up so much in my body. It was incredible. I was like, oh, this is all I had to do. Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. But it took me a long time to get there, and even like I went on this journey where I was also an infant. So I was an infant and I was giving birth and it was really trippy. But
Ooh. Whoa.
I was able to scream like I wanted to when I was an infant. I was able to scream like I wanted to when I was in childbirth. And it was like, holy moly, you know?
It is crazy how how simple it really is when it just comes down to it is clearing space within.
Exactly. Because you
And we
do
have
hold
so
it.
many yes, yes. And then that holding blocks so many functions and emotions from breaking forth.
Absolutely. And that's what
I
I
love it.
experienced. Yeah. It was so just even if you just start there, like I help a lot of people with digestive issues and nutrition still, and I do bring them to vocal toning I just was with a man who, I've been working with a man who was a former football player and he had a lot of neck injuries. And we've been working, I sent him to a chiropractor, a sports chiropractor, and I've also been helping him with some releasing through the vagal nerve and through the singing and the vocal toning, and he feels like 100% better just because it was pushing on his nervous system the wrong way. So
Mm-hmm.
even just like using our voice can relax our body, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
if we're not expressing ourselves through our voice, that can be very anxious and it can
Mm-hmm.
create a feeling of anxiety in our bodies. So, yeah.
Oh, I love these. I love these. If you have any other tools too, we'd be happy to hear them. But all of these are also in your book. So I have my copy and I'm just encouraging everyone to get this book because here's the thing. There's a misconception with self-care, I think. And it's the same misconception that people take when it comes to like personal growth or self-growth. And it's all about acquiring more information and better mindset and change your mindset. And while some of that may be true, there's snippets of the truth in there. It's just not a complete picture.
Right.
And so why I want people to get this book is because A, we need it, but B, it's helping us to redefine what self-care looks like. And you got to remember, guys, like you're a whole being and you need a whole picture of what wellness looks like. And honestly, you know that better than any of us can know that. But when when you are given the space and the tools and the awareness to be able to tap into what you already know, that's when the magic happens.
Absolutely. Yeah. So I take people through an aligning your mind part. The first part's aligning the mind. It's looking at our default mode, using your imagination muscle so you can really tap into your inner child, your childlike curiosity, which is so important and not used nearly enough. And then I guide people into the body, connecting with your body's natural technology so that you can learn how to trust your body again, or at all if you have never experienced that. And then the last part is about listening to your spirit. And it's a lot of also reflection. I have action steps for each chapter. And they're very simple. It's nothing complex. I didn't want to create a book that had a lot of lengthy a lot of like dense information. I wanted people to have fun, enjoy the read, and also be able to reflect their own life in a very easeful way. So the spirit part is about how you connect to your inner voice, your intuition, your higher self. How do you begin to cultivate that relationship? And so I have some great perspectives in there and some reflections for people to journal on and those kinds of things. So that's how the book goes.
It's brilliant.
Oh,
It's
thank
brilliant. Please go pick up this book. Allison, I can't thank you enough for sharing the time with us. And I'm going to post your book link in all of the show notes, as well as your website, because I don't know about anyone else, but I really want to practice and try this vocal toning.
It's really fun.
Funny, because I'll use the sound bowls, or I'll use sound frequencies and meditations for myself and others when I'm guiding them. But I guess I never considered using your actual voice, and I just don't know why that never occurred to me.
Didn't occur to me either, but I was like, wow, everything's in me. I got it all right here. I don't need anything else.
Well, and you even heard her, like you said, you literally healed physical ailments by just such a simple tool that you already have in your tool belt.
Exactly. I think we're built for that. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much. So aside from your website, tell us where everybody can find you, because I'm sure there's a lot of people that are going to want to follow your journey after this.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, Sarah. I have two websites, finallythrivingbook.com, which you can find the book and you can find the meditations and the vocal toning and some of the exercises that I talk about in the book as well. And then I have pureenergypdx.com is my coaching website. And I also have a group coaching course that I'm going to be starting this summer called Finally Thriving Program. It's going to be a companion program to the book, and I'm going to help people integrate the most key principles that I share with people in the book. And there's going to be a course that comes with it, a 12-week course. And we're going to be doing live group coaching every week as well with that. I'm going to bring in 3 guest speakers. And it's going to be super fun, just a way that you can really connect with yourself, probably like you haven't ever before. It's going to be it's going to be new for me too. It's the first time I've ever taught this. So I'm very excited about it as well.
That's awesome. When is the course coming out?
Well, it was going to be June 7th, and I have to push it back a little bit because I need to give myself a little more space to finish up some of the material. But it's probably going to be, it's looking like August will be the date, in August.
Okay,
good.
But
if someone's interested in it, they can call me or set up a discovery call, and I'll give them all the information and get them signed up early. Because if you sign up early, you'll get a discount for sure, and get on the wait list and that kind of thing. But I also am on Instagram at Pure Energy, Pure Energy PDX as well. So they can find me on all those places. Yeah,
I've been following you on there ever since we got connected. So yeah, I love everything you're doing. We're so aligned, the energy.
I'm so glad we connected.
And here's the thing too, guys, is like the more people and the more people who are experts in something in this field that you can get in your corner, or at least in your, lane of what you're paying attention to, the better position you're putting yourself in for thriving yourself, instead of merely just living. And I don't care who you are, who's listening, we all need to thrive more. So, all right, Allison, thank you so much. Again, guys, go check out her book. I have my own copy. I encourage you to get yours too. And she does have the audiobook too. When is that one coming out? The audiobook?
I should be done editing it. I'm not editing it, but I'm like participating in the editing with my sound engineer. But at the end of May, and then they should be distributing it in June. So probably sometime in June is what I'm thinking.
Perfect. Yeah. So basically by the time everyone's hearing this, the
Yeah.
audiobook will be out. So go check it out, guys. If you're not a reader and you're a listener, get it, do it to it. We all need to start thriving more. Allison, thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah.
All right, guys. We'll talk to you next time. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of Ignite the Spark Within. If this podcast brought you value, or you think it would bring someone else value, please hit that share button. My mission is to reach and help as many people as I possibly can. And you just never know who could use that one good piece of information. And hey, if you have any topics, discussion questions, or ideas for future episodes, you can reach me directly at sarah@sparkflc.com and just write podcast in the subject line. And if you haven't already, please rate the podcast on your favorite podcast channel. This helps bring awareness to the show. And don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications so you're alerted for all future episodes. Please go ahead and follow me on Facebook and Instagram. And if you're interested in pursuing coaching for yourself, you can visit sparkflc.com for more information.